Hi there. My name is Jen Wolfus, and I am an esoteric healing practitioner and physical therapist in Grand Haven, Michigan. Today, we're going to go through the basics about your energy body. Um, when we have a lot of time on our hands, which is now, we often will start to kind of ponder questions like, who am I? Where did I come from? What is my purpose in life? Things like that come to mind. And through my studies in esoteric healing, I've gained a little deeper understanding of some of those answers. So I'm going to share the basics of that teaching. Um, if it resonates with you, wonderful. If it doesn't, it doesn't. This is my truth that I'm presenting and what I've learned in my classes. So I hope that it's helpful for you. After this video, I'm going to record another video that will teach you a self-healing treatment that helps to balance all of your energy bodies and your centers or chakras. So that's coming up next, but you can't do that until you have the basics and understand your energy body. So that's what we're going to go through now. And don't mind me, I'm going to look at my notes a bit so I don't miss anything. So once upon a time, you were a part of everything. If you look at this picture, you were a part of everything. The great I am, source. Then that energy came into form and became a body. That energy became you, but at its origin, you are a spark of the divine. You are one. You are source energy. You're not a disconnected soul. You're not on your own living this life. You are connected at all times. You are source energy. So this artwork is by, it's beautiful. It's by Marius Michael George, and he depicts it so well. It's called I Am Presence. I actually thought I was buying a poster, but I got this little postcard. So kind of bummer. I guess I should have looked at a little bit closer when I ordered it. But anyways, I put it on the screen. Hopefully that's okay to show it to you a little closer. So anyway, so this shows that step down of energy. So source steps down, that energy steps down to your divine self and into your human self. So there's this step down of energy that we're going to go through in a few different ways, because I really want you to understand that, you know, you're not just this little body, physical body. We're so much more, and that energy is great, and then it stepped down into our human body that we know. It's kind of like how that whole process of how electricity comes into your house. Okay, so there's a generating plant, like a power plant, and then that energy, like we can't use that energy. It's got to be stepped down. So it steps down through all these transformers that honestly I know nothing about. But I know there's a step down of energy through those transformers, and eventually it makes it through the lines into our house, into electricity that we can use, so we can plug something in. But there's that step down that occurs. So again, that step down of energy, we have many different layers, levels to our energy as that divine source energy steps down into the physical body. And we'll use these stacking dolls as an example. So if you look at this doll, this depicts, oh, she's a little twisted here. Let's straighten her out. Oh, goodness, now she's backwards. There. This depicts your spiritual body. But if we open her up, you have a smaller body. And eventually they step down until, as you see on the screen, until you have this little guy here. This is your physical body. This is what we know, and we feel like this is all we are, right? You feel like we're all little guys running around the earth. We are so much more, so much more, and that's what I think I really want to get across. So, okay, this is a little overwhelming. I'm going to show you this. We're going to go through this. The picture on the left is what you've already seen. Okay, I'm going to bring that into a little bit more structure. So at the top, you've got source energy. Don't even look at the words. Okay, we've got source energy, and that energy steps down just like the power plant, steps down into these higher centers, our monad. Like we get like a little drop of the divine. That's our monad. And then it steps down into these higher centers and eventually steps down into our body, which has many layers, which we'll go through. So if we look at the bottom, this is our physical body. This is what we know. This is that little guy there. So we've got our physical body, but then we have these layers that extend beyond. So kind of like those stacking dolls, those layers are built outward from our physical body. So we have our physical body, our etheric body, our emotional body, mental body, and then spiritual body, which includes all of this. So, and then all of these areas, do you see these 3 lines? Those are called rays. So kind of like rays of sunshine, like in this picture over here, you see rays coming off, shining downward. That's kind of what we've got, these 3 primary rays that come down. They form other rays, 7 total, but we've got these 3 primary rays that come down from source, and they energize our whole energy body. So they energize everything about where we are. Kind of stems from those rays, ray 1, ray 2, ray 3. And we will use those when I teach you that self-healing treatment. We're going to use those rays, bring that in to help energize our centers or chakras and our energy body. So let's look at that bottom portion. So just a little bit closer up, you see that physical body. And then coming out from that, the yellow is called your etheric body. That's kind of like an imprint of your physical body. And then coming out further, you have your emotional body in green, and then in blue, your mental body, and then your spiritual body, which goes up and includes all of that purple that was in that last picture. So blocks or issues, that black area right here, that is kind of, it shows a block in your energy field. It's kind of showing, it looks like it's in the mental field. So stuff that happens in our life, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but stuff that happens traumas and stuff can cause blocks, and eventually that can present in the physical body. Okay, then we have within that energy body, we have chakras, and chakras, we actually call them centers. In esoteric healing, we call them centers. We have 7 main centers that we talk about. There are more, but we'll go through the 7 main centers. Centers or chakras, however you say it, doesn't matter. What they are like focal points of energy. If you've never heard of it, you may have heard it, maybe not. But we have all these lines of energy that run throughout our body. Okay, so in areas where a lot of like roads of energy cross, it becomes like a big highway, like a big intersection. And where those roads cross, it's a focal point of energy, which we call a center. So if we start at the bottom, we have the basic center. And these centers, like the energy comes into these centers and then it energizes various organs, body systems, and that carries physical stuff, but then it also carries emotional, mental meaning to it. So basic center is all about having basic needs met. So if you have a lot of financial issues, like if you don't have a house, which we see in these times, you don't have um, a roof over your head, you don't have food, and that all affects the basic center. And that's just those feeling like those basic needs are met. And that physically, that energizes the adrenal glands, the kidneys, bladder. It has to do with fears, courage. And then we go up to the sacral center. Sacral center is all about like relationships. It energizes the sexual organs. It is also about physical creativity. And then you have the solar plexus. Solar plexus is the seat of the emotions, will, power. Solar plexus also energizes a lot of our internal organs, the spleen, liver, pancreas, gallbladder, the whole GI tract or gastrointestinal tract. So that's like your stomach, your small intestines, the colon. So all of that is solar plexus. And then we move up from those lower centers, we shift up into the higher centers, a higher vibration of energy. And we have the heart center, heart. It's all about unconditional love. And it energizes your heart, all the arteries, veins, that's all heart center. And then we move up to the throat center. That's about expression, using your voice, using to express physical needs, emotional, mental needs, listening. It's about mental, it's a very mental center. It's about mental creativity. And then we move up to our ajna. Ajna is this point that a lot of people call the third eye. It's a point like in the center of your forehead out here. It's kind of a, third eye is kind of a combination of different centers, but it's often people will call it the third eye. But your word for the day is the ajna. I love that word, the ajna. So it's a point out here. It's that point we look at when we meditate. Focus our eyes inward and upward. This point, like just beyond our forehead, between our eyes. And then we have our crown. The crown is that spiritual connection to above, like seen in that last picture, that spiritual connection. Oh, our ajna is about intuition. Crown is that spiritual connectiveness. Crown also energizes our whole, like neurologic, a lot of our neurologic system and our brain. So those are basically our centers or chakras. So we're going to go back to that picture right there. So it's a lot of information. So I'm going to go back again because as we break it into pieces, it's nice to kind of bring it back together where it makes a little more sense. So at the bottom, we have this area here. This is all called our personality body. Over here, our personality body made up of our physical etheric, emotional, and mental levels. Okay, then we move upward into these two areas called the soul or our soul light. There are higher centers, we call them higher centers. It's made up of this first part called our causal body and then our spiritual triad. You don't have to remember those names. Just know that you have your lower body, your body and these layers around it called your personality body. And then you have higher centers. You have a monad up here, that drop of the divine, and source. And it's all connected and energized by ray 1, ray 2, ray 3. So when we are healthy, we are healthy when all those layers, all that energy is well balanced. Okay, that energy is flowing through all of those layers into our physical body, and we're healthy. But life happens. Life is nice if everything was perfect, but it's not, obviously, especially now. Life happens. We have traumas, we have grief, we have fear, we have stressors. Those emotional and mental things cause those blocks, like we talked about here, block in our field, like in our emotional, mental, spiritual fields. And those blocks, if not dealt with, can eventually present in the physical body as disease. I don't know the exact number, but they say that 80 to 90% of disease roots into that emotional, mental, or spiritual layer. But where do we treat? Where do we treat? Where do we focus on? We focus on that little physical body, but it actually roots back into those emotional, mental, and spiritual levels. Esoteric healing and energy work goes to the root of the problem, which is in those layers. It can reach those layers. And when we can reach those layers and get that flowing, then the body can heal itself. So Western medicine treats, and I'm not slamming Western medicine in any way because I'm a physical therapist. I am part of Western medicine. I am part of that whole system. But honestly, we treat here. As a physical therapist, I treat here. I treat the tissues. I treat the joints. I treat the muscles. That's all within the physical body. But these problems, you ever have a problem that just keeps coming back and coming back, and you get better, maybe you go get some therapy, maybe you take some meds, but it keeps coming back. Or you may feel like the treatments are only treating the symptom and it doesn't cure it, doesn't get to the root of it. That's because we're treating here. And where do we research? Our research for diseases is here. So we're missing something. Sometimes the root of the disease is way up here, and Western medicine is treating here. Do you see the issue? Up here, just to give you an idea, some of the diseases way up in the, some are here. There's some that are here. Some root in like those emotional, mental traumas through our life. That's in these fields down here. But some go way up high, and that's your MS, Parkinson's, a lot of your neurologic diseases, fibromyalgia, right there. That is where the root of fibro tends to be. Let's see, ALS, the Lou Gehrig's, it's called Lou Gehrig's disease. So a lot of those neuro diagnoses are way up there. So we can do a lot in, like, say, physical therapy makes a big difference treating someone with Parkinson's, and we can teach them to kind of rework their body system so they take bigger steps, so they do things things in a different way, a better way, but we're still not getting to the root of the problem because we can't. We can't. It's way up here. But energy work gets there. It gets to the root. I should say, according to the will of the soul. There's some things that we're supposed to just experience and learn lessons from. And so we can do our best, but we need to get up to these areas to even try to treat those things. And so we've talked about our personality body, but we are, like I said, so much more. We are really spirit, but we have a personality body. So we're really this, but we have a personality body, and it's little. So we need to keep looking upward beyond the personality body. Okay, now, so going back to our analogy of the power plant, okay, just to kind of keep going back, energy starts at the power plant, at that generating plant, and then there's that step down of energy, right? Like we talked about through the transformers, and then eventually into our house. And that power plant we talked about is analogous to source energy. And then it goes to the transformers, which is like our monad and our spiritual triad, or that soul, those soul higher center areas. And then eventually into our personality body, our house. This is our house. That energy eventually gets into our house. But what happens when a tree falls on your house, on those lines, the house, on the lines? It's cut off, right? And then we have no power. It's cut off from the higher source, from that generating plant. The house gets no juice. We get no juice if we're cut off. So then we're left in the dark, and we got to figure out how to bring in the light. We got to figure out how to make that light shine again. And this happens in our bodies, right? When we're cut off from our higher power source, we become stuck in our personality body, stuck in our house in the dark. And without connection to that higher self, we can kind of be left in sadness, suffering, nervousness, envy, jealousy, addiction, guilt, thoughts of suicide, anger, desperation. Our thoughts and emotions tie us to that lower personality focus. We can become too dependent on our thoughts and emotions. So we need to take the tree off our line, right? Get some juice coming into our house, get it restored again. And so that process of restoring the power to our house, reconnecting us with our higher self, that process is called building the rainbow bridge, or strengthening what's called this connection between your personality self and your higher self. There's this bridge right here, the rainbow bridge. So it connects us to our higher centers. This is our guidance. This is our higher knowingness. It gets us out of this being stuck in our own minds and body. It's that bridge is actually the technical name is called the Antakarana. That's that bridge that we build to connect our lower mind to our higher mind. Building the bridge is kind of like turning the water, turning the water on, holding that hose, letting that water flow through that hose. Without that bridge, we can kind of get a kink in that hose, right? And then nothing's coming out. So we don't want a kink in our hose. But what is that missing piece? That missing link that restores that power and lets that spiritual energy start to flow? Well, it's all about looking upward, turning our eyes upward. As we look upward, we bring in more light. And then things that bothered us in the past, things that left us stuck inside with all those icky emotions, yeah, well, they don't seem quite so bad. We start to feel more love in our heart. We act in a more peaceful, loving way. Those things just don't seem to bother us as much. But this is a process. It's a process. There's ups and downs. Because we're living in a body on this earth. There's always going to be ups and downs. There's always going to be stuff happening. Never going to be hunky-dory all the time, right? Well, that's an old term, hunky-dory. Sorry, showing my age here. There's always ups and downs, but as we look upward and we build those bridges to those higher centers, that stuff doesn't seem so bad. And we can flow through it, get through it more easily, more gracefully. And we just start to, I guess, perceive those struggles differently, more easily. And so there are things that we can do to navigate that process, make it easier on us, help us to build that rainbow bridge, help us to strengthen those connections with our higher centers. And we can use a three-legged stool as an analogy for building that bridge, to bring balance, a balanced seat to our life. So, you know, if we're going to sit on a stool and it's going to be nice and balanced, we want all three legs to be even, right? We don't want to have a wobbly stool. So we want all three legs to be even. And those legs represent meditation, service, and study. So those are those three things that really can help us to build that bridge. So just taking some time to, in meditation and prayer, reaching out to others in service, and taking time to study tons of stuff out there in the metaphysical world and the Bible, whatever it is, just pick it up. It might be a YouTube video. Search up some of the stuff. You're watching this right now, so you're there. So all of that can help to build that bridge. And so we look up and we bring in more light. We build that rainbow bridge or your antakarana, and we bring in more light and we grow spiritually. We remember that we are spirit. We are divine, first and foremost, and we know it, experience it, and we feel it with every ounce of our being. We are spirit, and we have a personality body, but mainly we are spirit. So as we build that bridge, we gain not only a knowledge that we are spirit, but we gain a deep knowingness to the core that we are spirit. And we also gain an understanding that we are all connected in that spirit. We are all a drop of the divine. We are all that divine source energy. We have all those levels and layers of energy, but it is all you. You're not alone. You are connected to source at all times, and you are connected to all people and all living things. So I hope that was helpful. In my next video, we'll continue on, and I'll teach you that self-healing exercise that you can do routinely to help balance out your energy. So I will see you soon. Thanks so much for listening.